I walked into my courtroom that morning and something didn't sit right with me. I've seen thousands of cases and I trust my instincts more than anything else. That quiet tension in the air told me this wasn't going to be ordinary. I took my seat and looked across the room, and that's when I saw him. Perfect suit, polished shoes, expensive watch. He looked like he belonged in a magazine, not a courtroom, and people like that, they usually think rules don't apply to them. Then I looked to my left and everything changed. A 90-year-old woman sat there, small, fragile, her hands trembling slightly, no attitude, no performance, just exhaustion in her eyes. Right then, before a single word was spoken, I knew something was wrong. I didn't need evidence yet, I just needed to watch, because people always tell you the truth. Just not with their words. Be seated, I said, and the room settled instantly. I kept my eyes on him as I opened the file in front of me, but honestly, I was more interested in watching him than reading anything. Who is the defendant? I asked, even though I already knew. He stood up immediately, confident, almost rehearsed. I am, Your Honor. Of course you are. And the plaintiff? I asked, shifting my gaze. The elderly woman slowly raised her hand, barely above shoulder level. I am, she said quietly. I leaned forward slightly. A son and his 90-year-old mother in court against each other? That alone told me something had gone very wrong. Let's not waste time, I said sharply. Sir, tell me what this case is about briefly, and I meant briefly. He cleared his throat and smiled like he had control of the room. Your Honor, my mother is confused. She's elderly and being manipulated. She's trying to take back property that I legally own. I raised my hand immediately. Stop. He froze mid-sentence. I didn't ask for a speech, I said. I asked for facts. Learn the difference. His confidence dropped just a little, and I noticed. Then I turned to her. Ma'am, what do you say? And I watched her very carefully. She looked straight at me, and I've seen pain before, but this was different. This wasn't anger. This wasn't confusion. This was betrayal. He tried to poison me, she said. The entire room went silent. I leaned back slowly. I'm sorry, I said, calm but sharp. Say that again. My son put something in my drink, she said. I became very sick. I couldn't stand. I couldn't think. I thought I was dying. I turned my head slowly toward him, and to my surprise, he laughed. Actually laughed. Your Honor, this is ridiculous, he said. She's 90. She imagines things. This is not real. I slammed my pen down. Sit down. He sat immediately. Don't you dare dismiss her like that, I said. Age does not equal stupidity, and money does not equal truth. He didn't respond this time. Good. I looked back at her. Do you have any proof? I asked, because feelings aren't enough in my courtroom. She nodded slowly. My neighbor saw something, she said. Now that got my attention. I turned back to him. Did you give your mother a drink that day? Yes or no? Yes, he said carefully, but I did not poison her. That's not what I asked, but fine. I leaned forward. You understand what you're being accused of, correct? Yes, Your Honor. Good, I said, because if I find out you're lying, this stops being a simple case, and I meant that. I glanced back down at the file. Hospital reports, dates, symptoms that lined up a little too neatly, and then I saw something interesting, video evidence. Now I looked up again, slowly. Bailiff, I said, we're going to need to see that, and I didn't take my eyes off him, because the moment I said video, his face changed just slightly but enough, and I knew right then he wasn't ready for what was coming. And then the video started playing, and everything changed. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, I don't like liars. Actually, that's not true. I don't like bad liars, and this man, he wasn't nearly as smart as he thought he was. I could see it the moment the word video came up, that small shift in his posture, that hesitation in his eyes. People always react before they think. Before we play anything, I said, raising my hand. I want your full version of events, and this time no speeches. He nodded quickly. Too quickly. That's always a warning sign. Your Honor, he began, my mother has been declining mentally. She forgets things. She gets confused, like accusing you of poisoning her. I asked. Yes, he said, exactly like that. I leaned back. Go on, I told him, and I watched every movement he made. I take care of her, he continued. I bring her food, groceries, drinks. I help her survive. That word survive, interesting choice. People reveal themselves in small ways. I turned to her. Ma'am, how often does your son visit you? Simple question. She didn't hesitate, only when he wants something that landed hard. I turned back to him slowly. Is that true? I asked, and I already knew the answer. No, he said quickly. That's not true at all. Of course it isn't. Then explain this, I said. Why does your mother believe that? Because people don't invent patterns without reason. He hesitated. There it was again, that hesitation I was waiting for. She's being influenced, he said. Neighbors, outsiders, invisible enemies. Convenient. Stop, I snapped. Those people are not on trial. You are. He went quiet. Good. Now we were getting somewhere. I turned back to her. Tell me what happened that day, I said, and I listened carefully. He came to visit me, she said. He brought me juice, said it would help me feel better. And then, I asked. I drank it, she said, and within an hour, something was wrong, very wrong. Her hands trembled again, and I believed her fear. You can't fake that kind of detail. I couldn't stand, she continued. I couldn't think clearly. My body felt like it was shutting down. The room was silent again. I was taken to the hospital, she said. They couldn't explain what happened, but they knew something was wrong. I glanced at the file. The records matched her story. That wasn't an opinion, that was fact. Then I looked back at him. Your turn, I said, and I leaned forward slightly. She's exaggerating, he said. She was already sick. I just gave her juice. That's it? I asked. Yes, he said. That's it. Always that's it. I stared at him for a moment. Then I said quietly, I've heard that line before, and it never ends well. I leaned forward again. Let's talk about the property, I said. Because now we were getting to the truth. His eyes shifted instantly. There it was. The real issue. There's a house involved, correct? Yes, he said carefully. And you want ownership? Yes. Recently? I asked. He hesitated. Yes, I nodded slowly. So let me understand this, I said, and I made sure he was listening. You're in a property dispute with your 90-year-old mother. And around the same time, she suddenly becomes violently ill after drinking something you gave her. He didn't answer, and that silence, that told me everything. I turned toward the bailiff. We're done talking, I said. It's time to see the truth. Then I looked directly at him, because if that video shows what I think it shows, I paused. You're not just losing this case. His face tightened. His confidence was gone now. Completely gone, and I suggest, I said quietly, you start preparing yourself. Because whatever was on that video was about to destroy him, and something told me he had no idea what was coming next. I don't rush into evidence. I let people talk first, because lies collapse faster when they're fully built. But now it was time. Bailiff, I said, play the video, and just like that, the room shifted. You could feel it. That quiet tension tightening like a wire. Everyone leaned in without moving. The screen flickered to life, grainy. Footage, but clear enough. A small kitchen. Simple, quiet. That's my house, she said softly. I didn't respond. I was already watching him. He wasn't watching the screen. He was watching me. That's how I knew he was worried. Eyes forward, I said sharply. If you're innocent, you should want to see this. He turned back to the screen. On the video, he walked into the kitchen. Calm, casual, comfortable, like he had done this many times before. He opened the fridge. Took out a bottle of juice, nothing unusual yet. Then he paused, looked around, checked the room. I leaned forward, that movement, that hesitation. That's not care, that's calculation. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled something out. Small, unclear. What is that? I asked out loud. No one answered, but everyone saw it. He unscrewed the cap, poured something into the drink, and stirred it slowly. The room went completely still. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. The video was speaking for itself. Then, moments later, the old woman walked in, smiling faintly, trusting. He handed her the drink. She took it without hesitation. That's what betrayal looks like. I turned my head slowly toward him. Explain that, I said, and my voice was ice cold. He swallowed that. That's nothing, he said. It's medication. I raised my eyebrow. For what? Silence. For what? I repeated. Vitamins, he said, weak, unconvincing. Sit down, I said, because that answer just made things worse. I turned back to the screen. The woman drank the juice. Then the video ended. No dramatic collapse, no instant reaction, just quiet. And then darkness. I leaned back slowly. That wasn't proof of poisoning. But it was something he didn't expect me to see. Do you have documentation, I asked, for this so-called medication? He shook his head. No, he said. I didn't think I needed it. Of course you didn't, I replied. People who think they're smarter than everyone else rarely do. That hit him. Then I looked at the file again. There was more, and I knew it. Is that all? I asked the plaintiff. She shook her head slowly. No, she said. There's more. Now that interested me. Go on, I said. My neighbor didn't just see, she said. She recorded something else. I paused. Something else? I looked back at him, and this time he didn't even try to hide it. Panic, real panic. I leaned forward slowly. You didn't think one video was all we had, did you? He didn't answer, because now he knew. This case wasn't slipping anymore. It was collapsing, and whatever came next was going to be worse. I've seen people lie under pressure. I've seen them crack, but this was different. This was unraveling. Let's see the second recording, I said. And I didn't take my eyes off him, because reactions matter more than words. The screen lit up again, different angle this time, outside the house, a window view, slightly open, audio included. Now that was interesting. The footage started, his voice, clear. talking on the phone. I need this done quickly, he said. I can't wait much longer. The courtroom froze again. I didn't interrupt. I let it play. She's already weak, he continued. It won't take much. I leaned forward slowly. That wasn't confusion. That wasn't misunderstanding. That was intent. I turned to him. Still vitamins? I asked. No answer. The video kept playing. I just need her out of the way, he said, and the house is mine. There it was, the truth, clear, ugly. I stopped the video. Stand up, I said. He didn't move. Stand up, I repeated. He stood slowly. Do you want to explain that? I asked. Silence. I'm waiting, I said. I didn't mean it like that, he muttered. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was pathetic. You didn't mean it? I said. You just said you needed her out of the way, and now you didn't mean it? He looked down. That confidence? Gone. I turned to her. She wasn't crying loudly. She was just quiet. That's worse. Ma'am, I said softly. Did you know about this recording? She nodded slowly. I didn't want to believe it, she said, but I had to. That hit harder than anything else. I turned back to him. You didn't just lie, I said. You planned, and poorly, I added. He said nothing, because there was nothing left to say, but I wasn't done. I looked at the file again, and there it was, one more piece. Phone records, I said. His head snapped up. Now we were getting to the end, because if those match what we just heard. I paused. This isn't just ugly, it's deliberate, and something told me. The worst part of this case still hadn't come out yet. I've handled thousands of cases, some are messy, some are emotional, but this one was personal, not for me, for her, and I could feel it. I looked at her again. She sat quietly, hands folded, but her eyes said everything. Do you want to say anything else? I asked. She hesitated, then nodded. He's my son, she said. I raised him. The room went still again. I trusted him, she continued. I gave him everything I had. I didn't interrupt. I let her speak. And now, I don't recognize him. That's the kind of sentence you don't forget. I turned my head slowly toward him. He couldn't even look at her. Not anymore. Good. Let's go back to the facts, I said. Because emotions matter, but facts decide cases. Phone records confirmed the call, I continued, the same time as the video. He closed his eyes briefly. That's not denial, that's realization. You said you didn't mean it, I reminded him, but evidence doesn't misunderstand. No response. I leaned forward. You had motive, I said. You had opportunity. And now you have evidence. I paused. This is not going well for you. He swallowed hard. Then suddenly, he spoke. I made a mistake, he said. I raised my hand. No, I said. This isn't a mistake. This is a decision. The room stayed silent because everyone knew the difference. I looked at her again, and for the first time her voice broke. I thought I was going to die, she said. That hit harder than anything else. I leaned back slowly, and I made a decision. This court is leaning heavily in your favor, I said. But I'm not done yet. I turned back to him. Because if there's anything else... I paused. You better say it now, because whatever came next would decide everything. I've seen this moment before, the moment when the truth finally corners someone and they have nowhere left to go. He stood there, silent, broken. Anything else? I asked. He shook his head. I didn't believe him. I looked at the file one last time, and there it was. The final piece. Medical report, I said. He froze. Substance detected, I continued. Not prescribed, not accidental. Now the room shifted again. I looked directly at him. You want to try again? Nothing, because now it was over. I leaned forward slowly. You didn't just betray your mother, I said. You calculated it, you planned it, and you executed it badly. He broke. I'm sorry, he said. I didn't mean stop, I snapped. You don't get to apologize now. Not after all this. I turned to her. She didn't even look at him. That told me everything. Then I looked back at him. You thought money would protect you, I said. You thought control would protect you. You were wrong. I paused, completely wrong. And now it was time. I've heard enough, I've seen enough, and I don't waste time when the truth is clear. I looked straight at him. Judgment for the plaintiff, I said. His shoulders dropped instantly. You lose, I continued. The property remains with your mother, and your credibility? Gone. I turned to her. You win, I said. Not just legally, but morally. Then I looked back at him. You didn't just try to take property, I said. You tried to take a life, silence, and you failed. I paused, and here's something you didn't expect. He looked up. I'm referring this case for further investigation, I said. That hit him harder than anything else, because now this wasn't over, not even close. I leaned forward. One last time, let me make something very clear, I said. Money doesn't buy you a pass in my courtroom, and it definitely doesn't erase what you did. I turned to the camera. If there's one thing to learn from this. I paused. Don't underestimate the truth. It always shows up. Then I gave a small nod. Case closed. And before I stood up, I added subscribe for more courtroom stories, because next time, you might not see it coming.